It's Bob the Beast Sapp.
Bob Sapp.
You want to throw a fight here? Actually, given your performances, I could probably beat you, I think, with this pinky. I just want to know when you came to the realization that you can cheat these people out of their money.
They say fight business, and I am in the business of making money.
What a joke.
Massive.
What's wrong with real money?
Unstoppable. That's how the world once saw Bob Sapp, a towering, muscle-bound juggernaut who bulldozed his way through some of the biggest names in combat sports. He wasn't just a fighter, he was a spectacle. A 350-pound monster who tore through K1 legends, stepped into Fight's chaotic coliseum, and became one of the most recognizable faces in MMA history and a global sensation. But then, something changed. The Beast became something else. The knockouts turned to quick tap-outs. The rage turned to resignation. Fans who once feared him began mocking him. Accusations flew. Was Bob Sapp taking dives? Was he selling fights for a paycheck?
Selling fights?
The story of Bob Sapp's meteoric rise, his baffling fall, and the controversies that turned him from a feared warrior into a living meme. Was he always a fraud, or was he simply playing the game better than anyone else? Before he was a terror in the ring, Bob Sapp was a beast on the gridiron. Born in 1973.
He played football. Hold on. Y'all was telling me to do Bob Sapp in my comments. I did Ernesto Hoops, and I seen him in that video. But even before that video, y'all been spamming Bob Sapp. So we are here, man. Look, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know who to react to next, man. But
bravado. His massive frame and raw athleticism made him a football standout in the state, earning him a scholarship at the University of Washington.
When I was at the University of Washington,
he played at Washington?
I was here to become a physician, to become a doctor. My first degree, I graduated in 3 years. I ended up getting another degree right before I left.
There, he became a dominant offensive lineman, winning the prestigious Morris Trophy as the Pac-10's best. In 1997, the Chicago Bears drafted the 6'5", 350-pound Colossus in the 3rd round. On paper, he had it all: size and potential.
Once you're drafted, it was a big dream for me. I thought I was going to be in the NFL for 10 years. It was exciting.
But cracks appeared. His technique was raw, his work ethic inconsistent.
I played a position known as ass back, which meant I would go on the field and coaches said, "Bob, bring your ass back."
I
want to play. No. So I was a bench warmer for sure.
And injuries took a toll. A steroid suspension sealed his fate, and he soon found himself bouncing between practice squads before football spat him out for good. It was shortly after that, following an already failing career, Sapp's life would take a turn for the worse when he had become a victim of financial defraud.
I had lost all my money in the NFL through bad investments and no taking care of myself financially. I was financially illiterate. I lost all of that cash.
His financial advisor, whom he trusted, had taken off with his life savings. Without a steady income, Sapp took whatever work he could find, often far from the spotlight. He even worked at a funeral home moving dead bodies, a far cry from the stadiums he once played in.
I got drafted by and then I got cut or traded and went on to the Minnesota.
That's crazy.
There was a mayor or governor, former pro wrestler. His name was Jesse the Body Ventura. He got on the radio and said, "I saw this guy over there who's got the biggest body, the biggest arms, and he was a man among men. You know, I can tell by his structure, the way he was talking and laughing and things like this. He's more suited for pro wrestling." And then I got a
pro wrestling.
Listen, Bob, they're gonna get you one ticket. That's all you got is one way. And they say, you got to make it no matter what, so you got to come here tomorrow. They taught me how to do pro wrestling. We sent out our tapes to WWE and WCW. WCW came back and was like, you know, we want this guy. So I went and tried out at WCW.
His big
things were going well.
Ain't no way his big ass was wrestling, bro. He was wrestling?
So I learned to do promos. I learned how to talk on the spot. I learned the aspect of that, what they call then sports entertainment. WCW helped me get back on my feet. They gave me 90 days rental car, 90 days hotel to get me back on my feet. And to get all the clothes and all of that stuff, Kevin Nash gave me all of his clothes. He's like, "Bob,
I ain't gonna lie. I used to watch wrestling back in the day. When I was a youngster, I ain't gonna lie. I'm a wrestling head. I might do a wrestling video on this channel. If y'all spam wrestling enough, it might happen. Kevin Nash, that's hard. I can't lie. He cold at me. Ooh. Nah.
As a
discipline. You can't keep wearing the
Kevin
same shorts
Nash.
and pants everywhere. And he gave me a ton of clothes. I was down and out at that time.
They really do take care of you. They start you off with $2,000 a week, $500 every house show.
As far as how to deal with people and how to do interviews, how to
But back in the day,
they start teaching you when you start doing college. The NFL, there's classes. WCW, there's classes. I learned and listened real good, boy. Let me tell you, in that class, when you don't have any money, you really going.
Yeah, you must have.
Sam Greco was there. Yeah. He taught me how to do things. Tank Abbott was there, taught me how to do things.
In 2000, after a short-lived pro wrestling stint with the WCW, Bob Sapp found an unexpected opportunity where he was featured on FX's The Tough Man Competition, an amateur boxing show. There, he faced off against former NFL player William the Refrigerator Perry.
Went to WCW.
Refrigerator?
That went bankrupt.
For the Bears? The Bears Refrigerator?
Refrigerator Perry, which was my idol all the way growing up.
That's when I cut the Beast promo. William the Refrigerator Perry is a former football great. Sam Greco trained me, and I beat him up.
So I was discovered on Fox Tough Man Contest. There's another gentleman that was discovered on there as well. His name is Butterbean.
Despite having no prior boxing
Butterbean!
Sapp shocked everyone by knocking Perry out in
bro,
the
back
second
then.
round.
Hold on, bro. His boxing technique wasn't.
The end of the match, Lawrence Taylor comes on to the screen and says, Bob, you're going to be a nobody. You're a nobody today, and you're going to be a nobody tomorrow, and you'll always be a nobody. He says that right on television in front of everybody. I learned how to deal with criticism. I learned how to do all of those things. I learned how to transform that into cash.
Sapp's friend and trainer, Sam Greco, saw potential in him and showed the match to Kazuyoshi Ishii, the chairman of Japan's K1 promotion. Impressed by Sapp's sheer power and marketability, Ishii invited him to Japan to explore a career in combat sports. Sapp then headed on a flight.
When I did that show, they said, hey, listen, you're a star. You just have no idea who or why or what you're doing. We have all your statistics on you, and we will see you tomorrow in Las Vegas. A limousine will pick you up. I was like, next day, me.
He was, hold on, bro.
Oh my gosh, the limousine. I got dressed, I went down there, and they happened to be K1. They were from Japan, and I went to an 8, and they're like, great job. They go, okay, so we'd like you to come to Japan and see if you enjoy it. They never told me I was going to be doing fighting, by the way.
They actually brought me over there to be a pro wrestler. Nobody wanted me to be a pro wrestler. Then they said I was going to be Concho Ishii, who was then the owner of K1, to be his bodyguard. So that was it. Then they said, well, you're just going to have to fight. I said, well, I'll do anything. Let's go.
This is more like pro wrestling, just a little harder. Okay, that's what they told me. So I was like, okay. So at the end, they gave me like $5,000 cash. Now, who goes eats at a big restaurant in limousine and all of a sudden gets $5,000 cash with a bunch of strangers? I ended up taking the cash, obviously, and the rest is history.
And following his arrival in Japan, Penn was put to paper for a 20-fight, 5-year contract. 6 months of intense training under
20-fight, 5-year contract
in the United States would follow, and Sapp made his transition to mixed martial arts.
Bob Sapp was one of the first guys that exploded on the scene that had a lot of athleticism.
375 with abs.
Jesus. And
people
100% clean.
Yo, as clean as a whistle. Dude, when
Bro, what, bro? That's crazy, bro. That's really insane. I can't believe he was wrestling, though, with that body. He was actually wrestling, like, on the ropes. Like, he was actually wrestling. I gotta see some more footage of that shit.
Met him. Like, if you stand next to him, you just go, wait. What in the fuck are you? What are you? What is this new type of human being?
Yeah.
He's so big.
Man, Bob, man.
You don't say he a new type of human being.
In the gym, throwing combinations properly. I remember holding the pad for the low kick, and he lifted me up in the air from the low kick. And I just was like, Frankie, I want you to hold the pad from now. That's frightening.
The Beast was sent over to Pride to compete as a K1 representative in 2002, taking
Ooh,
on
Pride
pro wrestler Yoshihisa Yamamoto in his MMA debut.
I remember the first time he fought in Pride, we was in the same locker room, and he was like kind of nervous. I looked at him. I didn't know who Bob Sapp was. That was my first time. Big giant. I'm like, who you fighting, bro? And he was like, you think I'm gonna win? You think I'm gonna do good? You think I'm gonna win? I'm like, who you fighting? He showed me a little bit of Japanese guy. I was like, bro, you should win on pure blackness. He started laughing, right? He went out there, I watched him.
It don't work like that, Rampage.
He knocked the guy with his bicep.
Oh!
You remember that fight? Yeah.
Sapp would finish
With his
the bout
bicep.
And he knocked the guy with his bicep. You remember that fight?
Yeah.
Sapp would finish the bout in the second round, and he found himself shining bright.
With your bicep, bro? Who are you, bro? Who is Bob?
Fight in the Japanese fight scene.
Who is this
When
people?
the first time I fought, about 7 million Japanese tuned in to watch me. They replayed it at like midnight, 4 days later, 30 million people tuned in to watch. And from there, it took on a life of its own. You know, I was the only fighter to make the cover of Time Magazine and the Wall Street Journal.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
K1 went from 300,000 to 300 million in 8 months.
After 3 fights of destruction, Pride wasted no time in throwing him into the fire. In late 2002, he stepped into the ring against Antonio Rodrigo Minotauro Nogueira, one of the greatest heavyweights in MMA history.
Nogueira.
Oh, yeah.
Big Nas?
I thought he was going to kill him.
Yeah.
I ain't never watching girl. Let me know in the comments. We should do one on. You know what I'm saying? I ain't never watch him though.
Back up or something like that.
Yo, that looked like Bob was punching him like this. That might have been a murder up in there.
You were gonna kill him. He's a friend of mine. He's been on the podcast. I thought he still could die after he won that fight. You know, that was a crazy fight.
The fight was insanity from the opening bell. Sapp, despite having almost no grappling experience, ragdolled Nogueira, pile driving him with the kind of force that would shatter normal men.
Oh shit! What the? No, I didn't even have a chance to even press the bro. What?
Experience ragdolled Nogueira, pile driving him with the kind of force that would shatter normal men.
Shoot for the takedown!
He battered Nogueira for most of the fight, landing clubbing hammer fists that looked like
Nah,
they could
I
clear
ain't
the
gonna lie.
spot. But unfortunately, as Sapp gassed out,
He's the final boss. He's the final. He lost? Hold on.
Nogueira locked in an armbar that forced the exhausted giant to tap.
Absolutely unbelievable.
It was a loss, but it didn't matter. Sapp had just gone toe-to-toe with one of the best heavyweights in the world and nearly won.
When you see how physically big he is when he's moving.
Yo, he got
like,
tap out
this isn't a
arm
person.
bar?
This is like the Hulk. This is like a comic book character.
What the fuck?
Fucking enormous. Even Fedor wouldn't fight Bob Sapp.
Yeah.
In his prime, he's like,
Smart.
get the fuck out of
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, we ain't doing that, man. Fedor, don't play with the king, man. We ain't doing that.
When Minotauro got fucking pile drived, he was like, no, that's an injury you keep for the rest of your life. And Minotauro's neck is still fucked up to this day.
From that moment on, Sapp wasn't just a fighter, he was an attraction.
Damn.
His technique was sloppy, his stamina was questionable, but it didn't matter. Every fight felt like a real-life monster movie, and fans couldn't get enough. Then came the
Damn,
moment that
that's
turned him
crazy.
into a legend. His fight against Ernesto Hoost.
Ernesto
wasn't
Hoost.
just any fighter. He was a 4-time K1 World Grand Prix
The
champion.
GOAT.
One of
He's
the
the GOAT.
greatest kickboxers of all
Hey, Rob Kamen coming soon, man. Reaction coming soon. But hey, he the GOAT.
Conventional wisdom said Hoost would dismantle the inexperienced Sapp with ease. Instead,
Leg
the
kicks was
unthinkable
nasty.
happened. Sapp overwhelmed Hoost with raw aggression, mauling the legend in brutal fashion, and winning via doctor stoppage.
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, I ain't gonna lie.
Everybody always goes back to and they're
Yeah.
like, wow, Bob, when you did that, it was probably one of the biggest upsets because, you know, Hoost was considered and is still considered to this day probably the best kickboxer that's ever lived. You get that win and that automatically, it seems like legitimized you as a professional fighter.
Following a brief stint with NJPW, a rematch was booked.
Oh, he was actually wrestling. Hold on now, but I ain't gonna lie though. Ernesto Hoost, I did a video on Ernesto Hoost, man. Y'all wanna go see that after this video? Go watch that. But wrestling though, bro, I really want to do wrestling though, because I'm as a kid, that's a video that I'm gonna love to do, you know. But he was out there really
as a professional fighter.
Power
Following
bombing.
a brief stint with NJPW, a rematch was booked almost immediately, and Sapp beat Hoost again, just like that. Bob Sapp had
Yeah, he
been
beat him
really
twice.
solidified as a sensation.
Well, he beat Ernesto Hoost twice.
That second fight, them low kicks was getting him
Hoost
though.
had him really hurt. Dug shots to the body, fucked his legs up.
Couldn't put any. He was switching his stance. Like got dropped by leg kicks a couple, one or two times or something. Got back up.
That was when he was 89% steroids.
Oh,
Like his body was so big and so ridiculous.
At his peak, Bob
Yeah, he was on
Sapp
steroids?
wasn't
I thought
just
he
a
said he wasn't on
fighter, he was
steroids,
a
Joe.
phenomenon.
I ended up making.
So is he is or he ain't?
54 million people would watch me fight. American Idol finale, 25 million. That's right.
In Japan, he transcended combat sports and became something even bigger, a full-blown pop culture icon.
The restaurants would close down because there were so many people wanting to get my attention. They were tapping on the glass. Roughly 5,000, 10,000 people are surrounding the restaurant, tapping on the glass. Bob, what do you love to drink? I said, I love to drink orange juice. And everybody would say, orange juice. And they all have oranges out there and drinking orange juice and partying and hitting the glass. And it would literally sound like there was an earthquake happening. It was so loud.
With his massive frame, booming voice, and wild animalistic energy, Japan couldn't get enough of him.
I shave my chest hair before I go out to do my fights or any commercials. The barbers would take that up, sell that for tea. You know?
Sex toy in Japan?
Yes, they made a Bob Sapp sex toy. That's right.
What? Is that true? What is going on, bro? Bob Sapp was actually literally that popular, bro? Where was it, bro?
They had like Bob Sapp dolls. They had like, he was everywhere. It was huge. He was promoting so many different products. Dolls. They had like.
That's supposed to be Bob Sapp. Stop it. Stop it.
He was everywhere. It was huge.
It's not
promoting so many different products. He was gigantic over there.
Sapp was everywhere.
Did a good
He
job.
wasn't just fighting in K1 and Pride. He was on TV commercials, variety shows,
Beautiful ladies. And they are very cute. I love car.
and even starred in movies.
What?
My nose.
Okay, stop crying.
He had endorsement deals with major Japanese brands, sold out arenas just by showing up, and became one of the most recognizable foreign celebrities in the country.
I mean,
That's
I
crazy.
was in Japan Wednesdays and Fridays from 8 o'clock till 10. I was on every single TV channel doing something.
He appeared in fast
Doing
food ads,
something.
energy drink commercials, and even released a novelty pop song.
It's Bob Sapp time!
He wrestled in promotions like NJPW and Hustle, working as both a terrifying monster and a comedic character. In 2004, he shocked the wrestling world
That's
by defeating
crazy.
Kensuke Sasaki to win the IWGP Heavyweight Championship, becoming the first and only African American to win the prestigious title. Though his
Word?
reign was short-lived, it cemented his status as one of Japan's most marketable and unpredictable.
Hold on. That's supposed to be a wrestling promotion, right? That he won that championship for. Hold on. He was out there doing work though. So he went from wrestling to actually really fighting, beating one of the greatest kickboxers of all time, then going back to wrestling. Then he just getting popular doing commercials. I ain't gonna lie though.
Stars.
Look at her.
Despite his growing entertainment career, Sapp was still stepping into the ring, though his reputation as a fighter was already starting to crack. Mirko Cro Cop, 2003,
Mirko
one of the
Cro
most
Cop.
infamous moments
He
of
fought
Sapp's career,
Cro Cop?
facing the deadly Croatian striker. Sapp suffered a brutal broken orbital bone from a left hand, leaving him writhing in pain.
I'm already
Remember,
knowing.
like one of his eyes.
Broken orbital bone from a left hand, leaving him writhing in pain.
Remember, like one of his eyes looks weird now. Like he's got like one eye that's open really wide,
man.
and it's because of Cro Cop, which is crazy. Like
Cro Cop
was like
nasty.
220, you know, and fucking hit him so hard with a straight left, he fractured his eye socket. Sapp was literally more than 100 pounds bigger than him.
It was a reminder
Cro
that
Cop's
strength
different,
wasn't
man.
always enough.
The
Kimo
Croatian
Beatodo,
weapon.
2003, a rare win with Sapp overpowering the veteran early
Give
in
me
the
the
fight.
back of the
and
head?
Bobby Lashley, 2009, years after his
Bobby
prime,
Lashley?
Sapp
Yo, I be hearing names. I be thinking something so like, you talking about the wrestler, WWE wrestler, Bobby Lashley? Y'all know what I'm talking about, Bobby Lashley, the WWE wrestler. If y'all don't, only person who know ball know who Bobby Lashley is. If you actually a wrestling fan, WWE fan, you know ball. You know who Bobby Lashley is. Don't act like you don't.
early in the fight, and Bobby Lashley, 2009,
Bobby
years
Lashley's
after his
crazy.
prime. Sapp faced WWE and MMA crossover star Bobby Lashley in a one-sided loss. It was clear that the beast was slowing down. Meanwhile,
Damn.
back in the US, there was a buzz about whether Sapp would ever fight in the UFC.
Hell
but
no.
Dana White showed
Dana
little
not
interest.
rolling.
Sapp's wild, chaotic fighting style didn't fit the UFC's direction. By this point, Sapp was still famous, but his fighting credibility was slipping. The spectacle was wearing thin, and fans were starting to notice. The man who once struck fear into the opponents was beginning to crack, and the worst was yet to come. 4 years, Bob Sapp was a terrifying force, but as time went on, something changed. The aura of invincibility faded, the losses started piling up, and worst of all, it seemed like he just didn't care anymore.
Number one, I made the cover of Time Magazine, the Wall Street Journal. I have 54 million. That's the world record for people watching a single fight. It's me, and nobody else has had that.
Yeah.
So I've hit the top of this. Why is it that I'm told no matter if somebody gives me $1, I got to come through and get blasted on as if I'm getting $20 million? That's really silly.
After his peak in Pride and K1,
Hold on,
Sapp's
what?
decline was rapid and brutal.
Hold on, he got to run that back for me one time. Because I was
had that. Yeah. So I've hit the top of this. Why is it that I'm told no matter if somebody gives me $1, I got to come through and get blasted on as if I'm getting $20 million? That's really silly.
After his peak in Pride and K1, Sapp's decline was rapid and brutal.
But then he ran afoul with K1. Remember, there was this event where they didn't have a contract for him.
Nope.
He was supposed to fight, and he's like, "Where's the contract?" And they're like, "We'll give you the contract after the fight." He's like, "No. I need a contract.
Yeah.
I need to know what the fuck is happening here." And then he walked out. And when he walked out, they decided they were going to ruin him.
Once a headliner in
How?
sold-out arenas, he began fighting in smaller promotions around the world. Russia, China, South Korea, and obscure European circuits.
Damn.
Anywhere that would pay him. It didn't matter who the opponent was or where the fight took place. If there was a paycheck, Bob Sapp was there. But there was one glaring problem. He wasn't winning.
Listen, will I go through for $7,000 or for $40,000, get my orbital broken, and risk that when at the time when I got my orbital broken, I'm receiving high six figures with medical care all taken care of and first-class accommodations through and through to whatever. Come on.
At first, it looked like the sport had simply passed him by. His wild, aggressive style wasn't enough against more technical and well-conditioned fighters. But as the losses stacked up, fans started to notice a disturbing trend. Sapp wasn't just losing, he was barely trying. Critics accused Sapp of taking fights purely for the money, with no intention of actually competing, and the evidence was damning.
All right, so let's cut to the chase, Bob. You've lost 10 of 11. This was, like I said, the toughest of the bunch in terms of length of time.
10 of 11.
There are people who think you are throwing these fights, that you're coming in to collect a paycheck, you're falling to the mat, you're pretending to be hurt. And if you look at the footage, I mean, it's hard to argue with them. What do you say to those people?
If you would like to establish credit with me.
What do you mean? You want to throw a fight here? I'm not going to fight you. Actually, given your performances, I could probably beat you, I think, with this pinky.
Over and
Damn.
over, he would enter the ring, absorb a few...
Dang, you told me you beat
Stop the cap.
Nah, Earl, one of these wild.
light punches, and then crumble to the canvas, tapping out or covering up until the ref stopped the fight.
Do the fans, do they follow the fact that, yeah, he showed up and he lost in 10 seconds and it was that promotion's #1 show ever? They never think about that. Do you know what that makes that promoter feel, what that makes that country feel to already have broken a record, to have me on there? For them, that's their success. They measure success.
Oh yeah, he was throwing them
revenue and
this.
profit. So
Oh yeah, he was throwing them, bro. Yeah, if he gonna say he was getting paid to throw them on, he probably was getting paid healthy too.
when you bring somebody on here and it sells it out, success for them.
Fans and analysts began calling it what it was, dives.
At what point did you sit back and say, listen, I don't have to do anything. I don't have to train. I'll turtle up. I'll show up. I'll start laughing. When did that happen?
What about the training?
You didn't.
Talk
Come
about
on.
the
What are you
training.
training for? To turtle up? Come on. I just want to know when you came to the realization that you can cheat these people out of their money, get the promoters to pay, because it's brilliant. You tell the opponent, like, listen, I'm going to turtle up in like a minute or so. Just like kind of hit me, but don't really hit me, and then the ref will step in. So we don't.
What fight are you referring to, sir?
Well, we're just watching.
He
all of them.
getting hit
Remember
for
the
real. I don't
point
know
where you
why
had
I
this
wanted
sort of
to.
epiphany where you didn't have to actually go in there and compete. You could just collect these paychecks and collect the L's on your record as well. Give me an honest.
Are you asking me, hey Bob, when did you come to the epiphany that Gary Goodrich has
Oh,
brain damage and no one is paying for that? Hey Bob, are you talking to me about the fact that a lot of these K1 fighters went unpaid, and now all of a sudden you want to say that, huh, you got to be in there collecting a paycheck? If you're asking me, hey Bob, go ahead and put it on the line. You've said yourself, you have UFC fighters who are fighting more and who are doing harder fights, and they're getting less money. So you know what? I guess you better rally up your troops, my brother, and say, you better start paying them. Because when I do the same thing as everyone else, just as a promoter, they say, fight business, and I am in the business of making money.
What a joke. All right, that was fun. think at the end of the day, what we found out about that interview was that Bob Sapp is throwing fights, and the reason why he's doing it is that he doesn't want to get hurt anymore. I really do believe that the people who are paying him to fight, the people who are actually paying to watch him fight, are the ones at fault here. Bob Sapp's really not at fault. But there's no doubt about it that what Bob Sapp is doing is a mockery of the sport, and it's making the sport look bad.
Some of his fights ended in less than
This nigga Hawani think he's the damn sport. He think he the sport like Messiah. I don't know what that nigga think he is. I don't know. I really don't.
With almost no effort to fight back. Fighters and fans called him for making a mockery of the sport, and even promoters started to realize that the beast was no longer a legitimate draw.
He straight up told me, he's like, no, I tell them it's 60 grand, and I give you a minute 20. At a minute 21, I'm going down. That's it.
At one point, he lost 17 fights in a row, many of them in humiliating fashion.
Large companies and corporations call me and they're saying, hey, you know what, we think that it's great that, you know, you lost all these fights and you sold them all out. That's a success in our book, in anybody's book, man. You win, you make cash and they're selling out. You lose, they're making cash and you're selling out. That's a successful individual right there. I can sell it out for you.
Bro, you can't throw the fights
get
though, Sal.
Damage on that, on top of that. Well, Ariel had a major disagreement with that. So I think that it's quite funny that now when there is a entertainment-based, non-same...
The main event wasn't a pro, and then you had Ariel Helwani introducing them as if it was like Conor McGregor and Khabib when they were weighing in.
Thank you. The bottom.
That is funny though. That is funny. That's hilarious. I cannot lie.
And is this?
I
It's
see what you're saying,
about entertainment. Combat entertainment, fight entertainment, that is what we are discussing. You were this purist, and now you're promoting all these entertainment fights that have nothing to do with these great UFC combat warriors that we know of. This has strictly to do with only entertainment, and you're selling it as if it's the same package. Well, I thought I do the same thing. You told me I was wrong for doing that. Why is it okay for you? And then
Ariel Helwani.
That's so.
You know, Ariel is Ariel. I've met him a few times. The guy, you know, he wants to be hard hitting all the time.
I think he's an idiot.
It was no longer about winning or losing. It was about getting paid and getting out.
I am what's called a prize fighter. So I fight for a prize. So my prize happens to be revenue. So I fight for revenue. So I'm no in there for egotistical reasons or anything else. And based on how much of this combat you're going to see, this entertainment you're going to see, well, that's based on revenue too. So if I get a large sum, so in the cases of like Japan, they pay me a large sum of money. When they're paying me the proper amount of cash, I'm winning. It has to fit. Smaller amount of money, you're not going to see that amount of combat. That's what you're paying for, the combat, okay? Yeah. Even when anyone's going at war, the budget happens to be quite high. I think we even know that from the United States and how much sometimes they spend on their military.
The man who once struck fear into legends like Ernesto Hoost and Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira was now the butt of every joke in combat sports.
Damn.
The internet did what it does best. It memed him into oblivion. Clips of Sapp tapping out from fear flooded social media. His fights were no longer must-see events. They were comedy reels. And yet, despite the criticism, despite the memes, he kept fighting, or at least showing up.
That's how I set up my retirement structure. So my retirement structure at that time was to go through and to make sure that the cash had to fit the amount of damage that I was getting. If there was a smaller amount of cash, I would have to do more events so I could take less damage so I could fulfill the obligation for more events. Everybody knows that was $40,000 a fight. So to do all of those things that I was doing in my life, that lifestyle, to fit that one, that was a very small amount of revenue for me. So I had to do 3 or 4 of those fights a week. In order to do that, I could have no damage, and I had to be able to fly on the flights and train, and bring my trainer and fly around to whatever. That set me up for having a retirement afterwards. So I had no damage, so I was successful in doing that because I was able to retrieve revenue for doing that.
Because as long as the paychecks kept coming,
Damn,
Bob Sapp had no reason
Bob.
to stop. As his fighting career crumbled, so did his reputation outside the ring. Once a beloved figure in Japan, he found himself mired in controversy, legal troubles, and personal scandals that further tarnished his legacy. The once lucrative Japanese market that made him a star had largely moved on. Sapp was no longer the fearsome beast. He was an aging veteran, willing to step into the ring for the right price, no matter how humiliating the outcome.
So my pay structure was, okay, I had to come in there, get a little damage, okay, see you later. Boom. I was in Hungary and Austria, and they were advertising both of my fights on billboards as I was doing the fight. They already knew they could advertise it that I would have no damage in order to do the next one.
In 2017, Sapp's image took a devastating hit when he was accused of domestic abuse. A Japanese woman claiming to be his longtime girlfriend.
I ain't gonna lie. I could have guessed that, bro. I ain't gonna lie. I could have guessed this, bro.
Publicly accused him of repeatedly assaulting her. She provided text messages, images of injuries, and other evidence that painted a disturbing picture of Sapp's personal life. The fallout was swift. While Sapp denied some of the claims, the damage to his reputation was irreversible. Any remaining goodwill he had in Japan was effectively destroyed. His once thriving TV career slowed down, came to a halt. Sponsors distanced themselves. The same country that had once embraced him as a pop culture sensation now viewed him with disgust. By the late 2010s, Bob Sapp had gone from a global superstar to a man whose name was synonymous with wasted potential and controversy. Once feared, now ridiculed. Once adored, now disgraced. His legacy wasn't defined by his victories, but by his bizarre fall from grace. Yet, despite all the scandals, despite all the criticism, Bob Sapp continued to take fights well into his 40s. Whether it was out of necessity, stubbornness, or simply because he could, he refused to walk away from the spectacle that defined his life. But at this point, the world had long since stopped watching. Despite all the ridicule, Bob Sapp undeniably made an impact. Love him or hate him, people still talk about him. Was Bob...
Bro, that's crazy, bro. Dang, bro. I ain't know this about Bob Sapp. I didn't know none of this, bro. You see some of his funny stuff online, but I never really knew his backstory and stuff like this, bro. This is crazy. Man, what y'all think about this, bro? I don't know what to say about Bob Sapp, but it's like, I think that he didn't really want to be a real fighter anyway, bro. I don't ever think he wanted to be an actual real fighter. I never thought this was his thought process, bro. I think he just wanted to be somebody who made money, bro, and was entertaining people, bro. I really think that's his whole purpose, bro. I really think he really did not care about fighting. He beat Ernesto Hoost because, bro, he 370, bro. Like, and he could fight a little bit, but I don't think he really cared about fighting. Well, let me know what y'all think about him in the comments, man. And I'm gonna see y'all next one, man. No cap.